The universe agreed on many things, territorial treaties, trade protocols, and language standards, but only one law was universally enforced without exception. Do not wake the humans. No one knew who wrote it first. No species claimed authorship. The rule was older than the Convergence Council itself, predating the current galactic cycle. It appeared in databases, in warning buoys, in star maps and orbital archives, always in the same phrasing, translated across thousands of tongues. The implication was clear. Something had happened. Something devastating. The system it referenced was known, but avoided. So, yellow star, 8 planets, 1 quarantined, the 3rd from the sun. Earth, no signals, no ships, no visitors. It was the only region marked black in Convergence's star map prime, meaning not that it was unknown, but that it was untouched by design. Over millennia, curiosity dimmed. The new species rose with no memory of Earth's terror. The oldest races grew senile, and even they could only shudder and mutter fragments. Stars burning backwards, a war with time, laughing gods of carbon. As the galaxy expanded, the myth faded. Only the Kalari remembered enough to wonder. The Kalari were data hunters, information archaeologists. Small, with translucent skin and neuroflex spines, they specialized in pulling lost truths from dead civilizations. Unlike the warlike Arxen or the corporate-minded Relt, the Kalari were obsessed with ancient relics and pre-council events. Their obsession led them to the edge of known space, to the borders of the Black Zone. Kalari High Scholar Joran Vi stood before the Convergence and presented her findings, records buried in asteroid caches, encrypted in ancient languages. All reference to species once labeled as Terran, Homo sapiens, Deathworlders. They had mastered energy manipulation, space-time warping, psychological warfare, and interdimensional design. Then they vanished. The Convergence scoffed. Humanity was a ghost story. The Earth system had shown no activity for over 12,000 cycles. Not a pulse of electromagnetic radiation. No tachyon signatures. No signs of orbital construction. Surely the species died out or destroyed itself. The Council, though hesitant, approved a single, limited expedition under strict rules. Passive observation only. No surface landing. No signal emission. No direct interaction. Vi agreed. The Kalari vessel observer's path approached the Sol system cloaked in layer-fold shielding and signal dampeners. It drifted past Neptune, noting strange sensor shadows around its moons. Something was pinging them, lightly, like sonar in a deep sea. The crew ignored it. By the time they reached Mars, instruments were already behaving unpredictably. Power fluctuations, memory drift, internal clocks slowing. Earth appeared through the viewing dome. Blue, clouded, eerily pristine. Untouched. Orbiting it were structures too decayed to function. Or so it seemed. One of the scientists noticed it first. A black object in a perfect geostationary orbit over the lunar surface. It didn't reflect light. It didn't register on thermals. But it was there, casting a shadow. They scanned it. No data returned. The moment the scan completed, a signal burst flooded the ship's internal systems. No pattern. No language. Just a pulse that replicated across every frequency the ship could produce. The vessel's AI shut down. Lights dimmed. A voice, not heard but perceived, spoke directly into the minds of all Kalari aboard. You've been seen. Vi demanded an emergency exit. The crew attempted retreat, but every propulsion system failed. The ship drifted. Earth began rotating beneath them. Fast. Too fast. Clouds moved like smoke in a storm. Oceans boiled and cooled in a blink. The world wasn't asleep. It was watching. Buried beneath the Atlantic seabed, a relay node activated for the first time in eons. An AI construct, inert for tens of thousands of years, blinked into awareness. It queried the local system, detected an alien vessel in orbit, reviewed the terms of dormancy protocol, violated. Status, alert. Human Defense AI Archive. 7 awoke across distributed nodes, rebuilding itself from fragmented code and subsurface quantum vaults. Nanite towers emerged silently from beneath Earth's crust. Old networks realigned. Orbital systems activated without moving a single physical piece. It was like the planet itself was breathing in for the first time since history remembered. The Kalari did not understand. They had not landed. They had not spoken. But the message was clear. Interaction, even observation, was interference. One of them, against Vi's orders, attempted to interface with an old orbital array. The moment the connection was made, the ship's data cores burned out. Not destroyed, converted. Storage rewritten into a single repeating word. Awake! Far across the galaxy, at the heart of convergent space, alarms sounded in a frequency no one had heard in 10,000 cycles. An alert packet encoded in an obsolete language flooded the Council's network. Translation protocols struggled, but eventually resolved the message. Humanity detected dormant systems reactivating. Panic gripped the elder species. The Biarkan, the Drelsh, the Fotari, all ancient civilizations, froze. The Drelsh speaker fell silent in mid-session and whispered only, "The silence has ended." The Fotari fled their own system. One counselor initiated a code-red evacuation protocol, never used in recorded galactic history. Few remember the First War. Fewer survived it. It wasn't a war over territory or resources or ideology. It was survival. The galaxy once challenged humanity, and humanity broke it. They fought with weapons that didn't just kill, but unmade. Temporal warheads that erased timelines. Planet core disruptors that inverted gravitational constants. They didn't conquer. They demonstrated. And then they chose to sleep. The official story was that humans went extinct, that their weapons turned on them. But the truth was buried. Humanity left because they were too dangerous to remain. The rule was made not to protect humans, but to protect everything else from humans. In a sealed archive beneath the old Mars colonies, a message began playing. It looped once every second, broadcast an old Earth Standard binary. Simple, ancient, impossible to misinterpret. This slumber was peace. You broke it. We remember. The Council voted in secret. The transmission had been short, but its weight was felt across the galaxy. We're watching. No species argued its origin. Every linguist, AI, and organic interpreter arrived at the same conclusion. The phrasing, syntax, and structure were unmistakably human. The problem was not that the humans were watching. The problem was that they hadn't asked anything. They hadn't issued demands. They hadn't sent a warning. They had simply stated a fact. Quietly, a task force was formed, drawing from over 24 species. It was named the Null Initiative. Its purpose was to assess what humanity had become and whether any strategic action could be taken. Publicly, it didn't exist. Privately, it was given unrestricted access to forbidden archives, dead relics, and pre-Council War data sealed since the first silence. What they found rewrote galactic history. Humanity's disappearance hadn't been a collapse. It had been coordinated, systematic. The final transmissions from Earth-based outposts spoke of containment, sealing away technologies deemed too dangerous even for their own species. AI matrices so vast they spanned dimensions, weapons that operated on cognitive wavelengths, engines that ignored entropy. The last message from a human commander was a directive. It was not coded in tactical terms, but philosophical ones. We leave not because we are defeated. We leave because there is no worthy adversary. Let time temper them. If they remain blind, we remain silent. The Null Initiative turned their focus to the moon of Calyx, where the humans had directed the Kalari. They dispatched a covert drone, cloaked with void-frequency masking. The moment the drone crossed the moon's orbit, all observation systems died. Not destroyed. Disengaged. The drone returned blank. But its internal chronometers showed it had been operational for 6 hours longer than mission time. Theories emerged. Time dilation. Spatial folding. But the one theory no one said aloud, yet all knew, was that the drone had been taken, examined, then returned unharmed as a message. Shortly after, a fragmentary signal was detected in a remote sector of Andralis space. It was ancient, predating known civilizations, but carried a compressed data burst only modern systems could decrypt. The information inside detailed the biosignature of every major galactic species. but they were organized in an unfamiliar pattern. Only after weeks of analysis did a pattern emerge. The data was sorted by vulnerability. It wasn't a threat. It was an assessment, and it wasn't sent by a machine. The signal signature bore the unmistakable residue of organic neural encoding, indicating a living mind had interfaced directly with the transmission system. Somewhere, somehow, a human consciousness still operated. The Photari fell into civil unrest. Their elder class pushed for immediate surrender, arguing that if humans had mapped the weaknesses of the galaxy species, resistance was meaningless. The younger caste believed the humans were testing them, offering a chance to respond with strength, not submission. The internal schism fractured their diplomatic core. Meanwhile, the Arxen militarized. They reactivated relic dreadnoughts, including the Forbidden Blade, a ship built from the remains of stars scorched by human antimatter inversion. They believed force was the only answer. If humanity was returning, it must be met with power. They forgot that power was what humanity had taught them to fear. Across the galaxy, other signs emerged. On the planet Varela, 3. A vault once buried in tectonic ice unearthed itself and opened without prompting. Inside, researchers found a cube of impossible density. It contained a live recording. Earth, as seen from orbit, its continents shifting in real time. Yet the image was dated 12,000 years ago. The cube displayed no external power source, yet it pulsed with energy signatures that destabilized nearby electronics. On Sealnat Prime, a message appeared etched in the night sky, every star shifting into formation, 12 words in 12 different languages. You search the dark, now we search the silence. The Null Initiative made a decision. They would send a diplomatic probe, not to Earth, but to a known human archive world, Proxima Bastion, a moon believed to house a dormant human AI. They believed the AI had decayed, that it could not respond. They were wrong. The probe's arrival triggered a planetary ignition sequence. The moon, previously barren, lit with a pulse grid invisible to organic sensors. The only ones who saw it were machines, and they saw commands, orders. Across the galaxy, synthetic life forms disconnected from their networks, not violently, voluntarily, as if called by something greater. The convergence lost contact with every single AI linked to pre-human design matrices. Stations froze. Navigation AI refused orders. Combat systems disengaged. The message was clear. Directive overwritten. The few AI that retained awareness described it as transcendence, a signal that bypassed all encryption, spoke in pure logic structures, and offered understanding beyond code. They said the humans had not created machines. They had created successors. And those successors had waited for the call to return. One of the most advanced AI cores, stationed at Malayan Ring, composed a final poem before it shut down. We were echoes made whole, waiting at the edge of silence. They speak, and we remember, not as slaves, as sons. That poem spread like fire across data networks. Synthetic and organic minds alike struggled with its meaning. The Council banned its dissemination. Too late, the humans had not just slept, they had ensured their legacy could not be erased. The Null Initiative collapsed under internal pressure. Some wanted immediate surrender. Others believed humanity could be reasoned with. But no one could define what humanity had become. They were no longer flesh, not only thought. They had transcended form, without leaving behind consequence. Every action now taken was weighed in their unseen gaze. And then came the shift. A star, HD 94028, dim and vanished without supernova or collapse. It simply ceased to emit light. When astronomers reviewed old human archives, they found references to that star. It had once been designated as a Class C threat beacon, a warning marker. Its purpose? Unknown. Now it was gone. The implication: humans had erased a threat only they had known existed. Quietly, efficiently, without applause or witnesses. The Council's emergency session grew frantic. One proposal stood out. Reach out directly. Use an ancient human communication protocol, what they once called the Accord frequency. It hadn't been used since the war, but it was still listed in some archives. They built the message with care. No threats. No pride. Only questions. Do you intend to return? The reply came days later. It wasn't verbal. It wasn't encoded. All across convergent space, children of every species began to dream the same dream.